Hey folks, welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about Fugitive Prince, the fourth novel in the Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts, and the first of the Alliance of Light sub-arc, which is this five-book sub-arc that happens plumb in the middle of our series. Um, and I kind of agree with the fact that this book is definitely triggering off a whole new arc, but I'll get into that shortly. Um, yeah. So, what's even going on in this book? So it's a few years after the events of Warhost of Vastmark, and Lysir's vengeful fixation on Arthur has taken like a darker twist. Um, his budding religion that's kind of like setting him up as this kind of um, almost deific figure, and it's just like um, dehumanizing Arathon through this like mass propaganda situation that's happening. It's grown, it's spread, and worst of all, he's gained powerful new allies in this particular book, which which mark a very significant shift in the story to date, and essentially Arathon's luck may finally be running out in this book. So first and foremost, this was a really intense read. I'm not going to waste time talking about Janny's spectacular writing or just the incredible deep characterization she does in these books, because those are standing traits of hers throughout this series so far. There's nothing new here. Like it's pretty much standard for her at this point. What I don't want to talk about is just the way, like I said, this feels kind of like a major shift in the series. And here's what I mean. So far throughout the series, like we've had something like I would call it more traditional epic fantasy kind of climaxes that involve, like armies and big battles and that kind of thing. Like armies are still very much involved, but this book, the conflict becomes a little more tactical. It becomes a little more subtle. It becomes more of a long game. Um, like the conflict changes. It becomes more of like this conflict between like ideals and that kind of thing. It's almost like a conflict where the focus is more on the population and manipulating them than it is on actually fighting one another, if that makes sense. It's that kind of conflict is very different. Like I said, it's much more it's much more kind of Cold War kind of situation going on between these two, and I was here for it. I was here for it throughout, because in addition to that, like this is the first book where we truly get to see Arthur just completely on the back foot. One of my issues with him throughout these books so far is that, for a reason that's actually explained pretty early on, and that's that I was actually reminded of in this book, because it was starting to become a pet peeve until we got that reminder in this book, is that Arthur tends to play chess when everyone else is playing checkers. Um, like he just has this way of like planning 5-10 steps ahead, and things just seem to fall just the way he needs them to. Um, that's not the case in this book, because the thing about that is the same way he's able to make those kind of choices and decisions, Lysier is also able to make those kind of choices and decisions. And for me, this felt like the first book where Lysier just took a step back. He wasn't just so completely blinded by his by by the by the gauge of the Misrate to actually be able to use that skill, and it's devastating. It's absolutely engrossing to read, but very devastating in terms of the consequences that it has in this book. Um, like overall, the book just feels much faster paced, much more intense, and I think it's because it's an entire like the entire book. It just kind of felt like Lysa was just one step away from capturing Arthur, or just getting him where he needs him, whether it be through him directly or through his new allies, and that kind of thing. Um, like it just had this kind of tension and impending doom throughout it that just had me hooked, and I just like I couldn't stop reading this book. I just had to keep going and going and going. Um, I don't want to talk about these new allies. I like you can read and find out. Um, but yeah. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, um, two things actually I did want to talk about, and one is pertaining to Lysia's character. So far in these books, one of the things that, and this was mentioned by AP in one of the videos that Philip, and Joanna did, where I think they discussed Curse of the Mystery. One of the things that's easy to forget with Lysia is that he's very much a victim of the Gesh here. And that's something I've always kept in the back of my mind where it comes to reading the conflict between these two brothers. The thing is, Lysia has a habit of making dark choices, very dark choices, that seem unnecessary, and then spinning them in a way that he presents himself to the audience of these dark choices, the people who are there when they see him make these dark choices, spinning himself as the victim, as someone who's forced to make this choice due to the failings of others or the situation and that kind of thing. He basically does these things that really aren't necessary, and then he never accepts the blame for it, never. And because of that, it's been happening more and more over the books, and it's gotten to the point now where I can't really see him as a victim anymore, just because of these choices that he makes. And these are not necessarily choices related to the Gesh. These are choices that he makes in his quest, that he feels obligated to make in his quest for justice or whatever the hell it is he's after at this point. So there's that. And the second thing I did want to talk about is the twist that Janny puts on their relationship in this book. It's easy. Sometimes it's easy to forget that Lysia and Arathorn, they come from a lineage that has a lot of history, a lot of bad blood between them. And this book really took that and turned the screws on them with it. It kind of felt to me like after the events of this book, the fact that the Gesh of the Mystery exists, it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter anymore. Lysia is going to go after Arathorn with everything at his disposal to put an end to him, regardless of if he is obligated to or not. So, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, not really being able to view him as a victim anymore. With the events that happen in this book, whether he's justified or not, the twist their relationship takes, is gloves off. There's not a single. I can't fathom a way in which there can be peace between them anymore. So yeah, there's that, and it does involve events surrounding some of the other, the secondary characters in this book, but I'm not going to mention anything. You will know what I'm talking about when you get to it, because when it happens, I couldn't believe what I just read. Things escalated extremely quickly for that moment to happen, and I still can't believe it actually happened. It's completely wild. All in all, just a really intense book. I can't. Once again, I think I've said it every single video. I will say it again. I can't believe I left reading these books for so long. I mentioned, I think in Curse of the Mystery, these books have literally been on my TBR for 15 years at this point. Whenever I first joined Goodreads, not on my present account, on my old account that I deleted, which had to be sometime around easily 2008, 2009, whatever. This book is on the list of the best epic fantasy or whatever that you can find on Goodreads. So it has been on my TBR for as long as that. And if I'd known the just story contained in these pages and the way it would just utterly wreck me, I would have read these books a lot sooner. But better late than never. And yeah, just a really intense entry into the series. Given this is the start of a 5-book arc, I'm very, very excited to see where it goes next. I immediately went straight into Grand Conspiracy. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about about Fugitive Prince. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching. Drop some comments, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.